stuck in a company with 60 or 90 days notice period, or planning to join such companies, or not getting selected due to such long notice period, so this episode is for you. We have ex recruitment expert from Amazon. In this episode we will be covering the tips, tricks, suggestions for every level, starting from freshers to the professionals. So we'll be talking about 60 and 90 days notice period challenges, buyback options, bonds, companies that accept such long notice period, and how to handle such long notice period, and much more. So keep watching this video till the end, and don't forget to comment down with your current job title, your current company, and your dream company, so that recruitment expert can help you to get you a dream job. Keep watching till the end. So we have Sanchari today. She is a talent acquisition specialist. She was VP in the previous organizations. She have worked with multiple startups, product-based companies, FANG, and she has a vast experience. We are glad, Sanchari, that you are over here. Like, would you mind talking about your career and your journey till now?
Thank you so much, Chirag. I think that was, I mean, I'm just very grateful for the introduction. Um, yes, I have worked, as a VP HR in my previous companies. I have, worked with a couple of companies. I would not say great, but yes, I had slight experience in this field. So to an extent, I do have knowledge. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting me here. And yeah.
Cool. So today we are going to discuss on a very interesting topic. Most of the folks who start their journey, especially after the college, they get into some companies where they have huge notice period, and that become a challenging for them in order to switch their career. Or even I have seen like multiple experienced folks get into such trap. Some of the time I will say trap, because sometimes it becomes a trap because if you don't go through the class. So today is interesting topic that we are going to discuss, how to handle this 90 days notice period. So the first thing from the audience is like, how challenging is it to change your job with your current employer with like 90 days notice period? Like, how can we do that?
Um, uh, Honestly, see, higher notice period can be challenging sometimes, to find a new job unless we act strategically, because we know the industry, right? At least right now, the industry is so competitive that, where the candidate, sometimes, have couple of offers. Similarly, I think even the employers also cannot wait. They do not wait for higher notice period. I mean, they do. Both of them do have their own reasons, right? Which is completely fine. But sometimes what happens, the, employers actually prefer candidates, even if they have a candidate with a higher notice period, but with good experience, and a very 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 good candidate. They just prefer somebody with a lesser notice period and immediate. So the reasons are like, they work on client projects. There are a few reasons they work on client projects. If you talk about startups, they work on a very very shorter, stricter deadlines, right? They do not have that. They cannot afford actually much more time on training. So there are sort of few reasons why they do that. And which and again, there are also instances when, again, I would not blame, but yeah, I mean, this has happened that, in the on the joining day, the candidates end up taking another offer. So that's very normal that, this company, they say company A, they are just they have to start from, square one. So these are a couple of the reasons why companies avoid high notice periods unless the skill is niche, or your notice period is negotiable. So in that case, I would say either we have to develop skills which are niche in the market, or target specific companies, which is something in your domain. Like for example, a person is in a certain domain, right? Domain A. You will have companies which is in the similar domain, competitors. They are looking for skills exactly what you have, right? Many a times we apply for companies which is not looking for us. So we just ignore that. So what we need to do is we have to act strategically and apply for only those companies who are looking for us.
Got it. Cool. So you talked about something very interesting, is negotiation. So can we negotiate with our current employer? Like if I'm in a company where I have 90 days notice period,
and the other
Right.
company from where I'm having the offer letter, they are expecting me to join somewhere soon. Like they, as you said, like companies sometimes cannot wait for 90 days because of n number of reason. Either that is client based project or something. Basically, there can be challenges with a startup. They want to their product to be delivered as soon as possible, right? So waiting for 90 days and then getting to know, oh, dude, that person didn't turn up, right? May not work for most of the companies. So how about negotiating with the current company? Like how that can work?
Yes, negotiation can certainly be done, but here, the company and your HR,
Mhm.
the company where you work, plays a very important role, as well as your reporting manager.
Okay.
Okay, so one thing that I would always advise everyone is to have a very good rapport with your manager, because I think that is how you can actually stay in a company. One.
Mhm.
Second, even if you're leaving,
Mhm.
right? So never ever burn the bridges, right? So never ever, always try to keep a very good rapport so that even when you're leaving, even
Mhm.
if after you leave, you have a way to come back, right? And secondly, your manager helps a lot. This person plays a very important role in your notice period negotiation. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is one point. Second, that I would always say is, whenever you're signing an offer letter, you should always be very, I would say, careful, and should always check the termination clause. So
Mhm.
the termination clause, sometimes company do mention that, hey, 90 days notice period, either the candidate has to serve the notice period, or you can buy out the notice period,
Mhm.
right, in the lieu of salary, like the
Mhm.
term. So these two things, if they are mentioned, right, so you can
Mhm.
actually go to your HR and tell that, hey, this is, I'm looking, I'm just going to join another company, and I want to resign, and then I would like to negotiate my notice period. So if it is there in the offer letter, it
Mhm.
helps, right, to build your, I would say, case in a better way. I
Got
mean,
it.
before you go to your HR. So that is one thing.
Mhm.
And I think about the wrap I've already told you, right? And there are also companies where they negotiate, they adjust your notice period with your earned leaves.
Mhm.
So that is another 3 points,
Mhm.
right? So if you do not have any earned leaves at all, if you have plans to leave a company, please
Mhm.
make sure you have at least 5 to 10 earned leaves in your account. I know it's sometimes we have important stuff, right? You'll be saying that, hey, if I don't take earned leaves, I mean, it is fine, right? If you do not take the leaves, you will get what do you call it? You can encash it, right?
Correct.
Either you can encash it or you can utilize it in negotiating the notice period. So yeah, these are a couple of things that you can try. But the one point which I've already mentioned is having a good rapport with the manager is very important. If that is not there, all these other points can actually not work.
Yeah, I think few points that you have told is awesome. Like first, I think the thing which you have told, I have personally experienced in past, your manager is a key man. If your manager is okay and is going to support you, that becomes a very easy case for you to actually switch the company with a shorter notice
True.
period as well, right? And the second, as you said, like end of the day, someone believes or not, someone want you to leave or not, if that is written in your clause, which is in your offer letter, no one can stop you, right? So
Correct.
that is
Correct.
the second biggest case. And definitely, as you said, if you have something as an earned leave already, use that, dude. Like no one can stop you. Like just
Right.
utilize that in order to leave. And that's the best, I think, that you can leverage. One thing you talked about in between is a buyback, right? Can you
Right.
talk a bit more about the buyback? Like how does that happen? And like to whom we can request with?
Definitely. So, okay, so this buyback is also an option which is provided by employers, right? So again, this is it normally it is mentioned in your offer letter,
Mhm.
right? But one thing that we have to keep in mind is an employer is not forced to agree to this point. Okay,
Okay.
so when we are talking to this, we also have to know that, hey, we cannot ask the employer that, hey, I want to do it, so you have to do it, right? So
Mhm.
uh, it is something we have to, in this case, we have to take the employer in confidence. So when
Mhm.
I say employer, a manager for you. A manager in HR actually represents the company, right? So you have to take them in the confidence, and you have to make sure that they agree to it, right? And so yeah, that is one point. So in case of buyout, as I've mentioned, earned leaves, that is also one way. And remaining, so sometimes what happens, I'll tell you, usually what happens, either you can buy out, right? So while you're buying out, you can adjust the amount, partly part amount, with the earned leaves, and remaining, either your new employer pays it directly, or you pay it and get the reimbursement
From the new employee,
right
where you are going to join.
from the new employer.
Got
Yes,
it.
yes. But sometimes what happens, like in most of the cases, usually the employee pays it and then they get the reimbursement. I'm talking about startups. Since I've worked with startups, usually startup follows this. In companies which are bigger companies, they have a provision where they directly deal with the HR of the another company,
Got
right? So however, what I have noticed is usually companies doesn't want to get involved in this because it's a very confusing process, right? So they always say that, hey, you pay the amount, we will bear the charges, and we will bear the amount, right? Expenses.
Right.
Also, there are cases where I've seen. I have seen in my circle, again in not our domain. That was a different domain, not in IT. So there, what they do is, there the employee pays it, and sometimes they end up not getting the amount. So that is also sometimes that's there, right?
I think what you're saying, like always taking written that we are going to pay a buyback is something
Right.
always better.
Right. So you should always, from both the ends, you have to make sure that you have a documented something, right? Email or
Commitment.
confirmation
Got
that,
it.
hey, once you do it, we will be. So sometimes the offer that you receive from your new employer, they mention it, that it's not in the offer letter, but in the email, that we will help you with that, so that when you're doing it, they have something to refer to, right? Because they also sometimes they don't do it intentionally, right? They deal with
Correct.
a lot of candidates. Maybe they just slip, it just maybe that recruiter leaves, right? Somebody else comes. So who knows what you have talked with the recruiter? So it's better to document it. Have it documented somewhere.
Correct. Sometimes I have seen folks talking about, we have given you a joining bonus, please consider that as in your buyback sort of thing. So it's better you explicitly ask to have a
Correct,
documented as well.
correct. Because joining bonus is a perk. So why would you miss that?
Definitely, that makes sense. So, like, what sort of companies one should basically look for if a person is serving like 90 days notice period? So, what are the companies which are going to basically help and will ease the process of, like, which they are okay, sort of like, I will wait for 90 days. It's okay, man.
Right. Okay. So one thing that I would like to start, for this question, I think, first of all, sometimes candidates do get demotivated, right? They feel that, they are getting rejected by the companies. The reason is, the reasons that were given are 90 days, right? So, as I mentioned starting of this discussion, right, that not every time, we have to act strategically, right? And also, not every time we are fit for a company, right? It's not that we are not fit, it is that for that point of time it is not matching.
Correct.
Right, this is not the requirement. Is the company is not looking for you, company maybe not now, next time, maybe after a month, for the next requirement I could be a fit, right? So
maybe
first of
different
all,
team, maybe, as you said.
different
Right?
team.
Yeah.
Correct, different team, different skill, where they are actually looking
Correct.
for you. They are not aware of it. Maybe not that hiring team is looking for you, the other team is looking for you, right? You have
Correct.
applied for the wrong team, or the wrong skill, or the wrong company, right? So before first of all, before applying, you have to prepare for your interviews very, very well, right? Research well about the competitors, companies in the same domain who have a similar product and services, right? First. Second, once you're prepared, and you have researched well about the companies that you would like to apply for, and the roles, only then you start applying for jobs, right? Only apply for targeted companies. I would not say, sometimes it happens, right? When we look for jobs, we just open LinkedIn, or we open Naukri, or we just and tuck, we just start applying for jobs, apply, right? So you don't do that. Target companies, reach out to people, right? There are messages, reach out to recruiters, reach out to hiring managers. Even you can reach out to senior employees, right? Like something technical leads for a team. So you can start doing that. Targeted companies, of course, right? Where there is a desperate need. And secondly, always try to make sure that you are outstanding in the crowd, right? I mean, you are, I would, how do I say it? So this is something you have to make sure that if they're
Leave a
looking at
mark.
resumes,
Yeah.
yes, right. If they're looking at a lot of resumes, you stand out.
Yeah.
Right, so something we need to do. We have to understand it's a very competitive market, and we need to do something. We need to have a skill where you can stand out. So that is there. And again, yes, if your skill is niche and if you're from a similar background that the employer is looking for, I have personally hired people, again, not every time I had a good experience, but I have personally hired many people who had 3 months notice period. And trust me, that in that cases, even if I don't want to do it, the skills are something that we couldn't ignore. Right, so we had to hire because we were not getting anybody with that experience, that good person, right? So that is that. And secondly, always make sure that share this, that this is a negotiable, right? So that's why I said, while you're joining, make sure that your notice period is negotiable.
Got it. So I think a few points that you have said is like, if you have the same domain knowledge, strong domain knowledge, and second is a tech knowledge, that these two combos something which will actually force our employer, your new employer, to basically wait, dude, I'm the best combo, and even if you have to wait for 90 days, it is going to be worth for you. So basically, I can relate it very well, and that make more sense. And the second point which you highlighted is like, if you like leave the mark on the interviewers, like when they are going into the debrief, having some discussion, and they discuss about, dude, that person is really awesome, right? And people are convinced that if this person joins the team, it is going to benefit the entire team in terms of the growth and futuristic. Then as you said, like 90 days may not be a much problem. And I think one thing which I have personally seen, apart from, yes, your competitor, similar kind of domain, such big product-based companies are somewhere, even the fan companies are somewhere, they are okay to wait because they have their lot of, you can say, process altogether. Like in process, they have background verification. Sometimes they take like from 30 days to 45 days. And
oh my God.
They are sometimes okay to wait 90 days because end of the day, you don't join, right? It's okay for them because they have huge pipeline for the candidates as well.
So even in my experience, sorry. So even in my experience, in one of the company I have worked initially, that was an MNC. So they started my interview. Say, I'm just giving an example, in July. I think that was in July. No, I think June end. And I received the offer in September. Yeah, September. So they took almost from, so again, because they have a very, set process, right? And they have I think they had somewhere around 6 to 7 rounds. So these many rounds actually takes time, right? And for them, they were like, you're joining, fine. If you're not joining, there is a pipeline of candidates, right? So they would not say that. But it's typically that's the situation is. Only in startups or in a mid-sized companies, they are like very, very I would say careful, because they have a very strict deadline. They have to make sure they do not have that affordability. I mean, they cannot afford, right? So yeah, that's
as you said, they can't overhire. Overhiring can't do. They can't take a compromise. Like we can restart the hiring if the candidate doesn't join after 2 months or 3 months, right? I think that's
very true.
Fair point. Okay, I think this is one of the most of the popular question and popular thing that comes to everyone's minds. Like, if I have like 3 months notice period, should I like leave the company and then start looking for a job? Like I quit and then start searching. What's your thought on it?
Okay. If you ask me personally, I would always suggest, or I would say, anybody. I think that there had been a couple of people, right? Couple of in my network, my friends who have always asked that, Sanchari, do you think this is something we should do?
Uh-huh.
I have always told them not to do that because the stress after you leave a job uh, is a different level of stress.
Correct.
Unless, again, situations, right? Unless there is a situation where you cannot actually, do both the things at the same time, right? So, again, in this case, what I would say is, it is not a great idea to to leave and look for new job unless there are a couple of reasons, right? Maybe you're in a toxic environment, you are overworked, and you do not have time at all to find, a new job. That happens. This is something. These are all I've seen, right? That could be a reason, or maybe you have a situation where you cannot actually um, work on both the things, right? Balancing both becomes an issue.
Correct.
And third is, you have enough finance that even if you leave, the typically a job of your choice takes, sometimes it takes even a year. So if you have that finance for at least 8 to 12 months, and you're confident that yes, I can support myself, only then take that step. Otherwise, I would always say try, work strategically, look for companies, research, work on your skills, try to stand out from the crowd, reach out to your reference. I mean, you have a network, right? We have to work on your network, reach out to your network, do all these tips, and then you leave your job, and then you switch your jobs.
Very fair points. Like, until that is a worst scenario you can't handle because of your mental pressure or anything. Like, it is not letting
Right.
you work, right?
Mhm.
Until this, you should have something as an backup and then only leave. That is the best thing. I think that's a great advice.
True.
Now, the final and the most important thing. What's your advice if someone is getting like an offer letter of 90 days or some bond, right? Especially the freshers get this. So
Right.
shall the candidate or the student join such companies or not?
Okay. Right. So for this question, I see myself as a fresher. Okay. So this is a very, I think, emotional question, I would not say, but yeah, this is something which we can somewhere relate, because we all have been in that state, right? Where every one of us have started, right? Somewhere. So, bond is something I was not at all in favor of since the start, right? Since day one of my career, because there is a thing, right? You feel like a jail. I mean, to you, it's typically that's how the psychological thing is. If somebody tells you that, hey, don't do that, you want to do that, right? I mean, that is how typically the psychology is. So I don't know, employers, this was the market, maybe couple of years back. There were companies who used to follow this. Most of the companies have actually removed this, having bonds. I personally myself had received an offer with bond, which I did not take up. And you would not believe that was not in my, that was something. So I was actually from different background, right? So for that, that was related to that. So yeah, I mean, my advice would be, uh, see, as a fresher, we apply on lot of jobs, right? We freshers are something companies are actually focusing on, right?
Yeah.
So even in for freshers also, what I would say is, unless and until you think that you will not be getting any other offer, uh, do not try to avoid, because the problem is when you leave if you want to leave before 3 years. It has happened with one of my friend, right? So she was a very, very good, I would say, candidate. She was a very good in terms of her skills, and she worked, I would not name the company, but it is in the services background, right? The company is in the services, and they actually made her to sign three years bond.
Okay.
Everybody who were placed from her college. Okay. So this is actually kind of an agreement between colleges and companies. That does happen. So she was kind of stuck up within this 3 years, and always she used to be like, hey, I am just laid back. I feel like my friends are going, climbing that ladders. I could see that they are going ahead than me in terms of my compensation. Of course, in that period of time when we start, for us, compensation is very important.
Correct.
So that is when what she did was she waited for 2 years, and she received an opportunity which was very good.
Mhm.
And fortunately, her company was ready to pay for the bond amount,
Oh.
right? Yes. So there will be there would be situations like this as well.
Mhm.
So what I would suggest to freshers is, uh, as a fresher, I understand we have to start our career, right?
Mhm.
If you think that associating with that company, so there are many companies, right, which is worth working with.
Correct.
If you think that that is a company which has you're going to learn a lot of things in terms of culture, in terms of environment, everything is good. It is just this bond
Mhm.
that you are not comfortable with, then I can say yes, you can you can start, you can take it up. But
Mhm.
just remember, uh, unless if you have another offer, you should take the other one, because then you would be bound, and then while leaving you have to give a very big lump sum amount, and that is kind of a little hurting in terms of your pocket.
Correct, correct. And as
So
you
yeah, that
said, the growth is also something. This is not a
right.
multiplier of how much output basically you are giving, right? So
Correct.
true. I can very much relate to this. I think the things that we have discussed. You wanted to say something, Sanjana.
Right.
Yeah.
One last point that I wanted to say
Uh-huh.
was, especially for freshers,
Mhm.
I think when we started our career, at least when I started my career, startups were kind of starting phase in especially in Bangalore, right?
Mhm.
But now when we see, there are ample opportunities for freshers, right? So
Correct.
I would always say start with a company where you can grow, right? Do
Mhm.
not look at the name of the company. Just look at the product, look at the work,
Mhm.
look at the vision, company's vision, right? And then you take up. So maybe you might get two offers, right? One from an MNC and one from a startup or a mid-sized company, which is a very good role.
Mhm.
Maybe that company is not known by our parents, our uncle, our aunts, but
Society.
that could be a society.
शर्मा जी का लड़का.
शर्मा जी के शर्मा जी शर्मा अंकल को शायद पता ना हो, but it is good. It will be good for your career. So take that up and do not take that MNC. You can take that up once you complete certain years of experience, and trust me, they will reach out to you. You do not need to reach out to them. So they will reach out to you that we want to work with you, and there would be no bonds. It would be at your own terms. So yeah, I mean, you can actually make sure these things happen, but just you need to take decisions little tactfully, and you have to think about it.
Sounds fair. I think we have got a lot of interesting things, and people who are watching this are going to benefit. Most of the time, people have fear, as you said, when they have 90 days notice period. So I think you have covered a lot of things, and those are very helpful. So thanks, Sanchari, once again for coming down and basically helping with
Thank
your
you so
vision
much.
and your experience from the corporate experience itself. And yeah, thanks a lot.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was great, having me here. Thank you so much for having me here.
I hope you have some great learning out of this episode. And if you still have some questions, put down in the comment. I will get it answered in the upcoming episode. And keep watching Beyond Interviews and see you in the next episode.